April is the cruelest month indeed, because it's been 4 days so far in the month, and for 3 out of 4 it has only been raining. Now fortunately today the sun has come out to join us, so let's hope for the best. But spring is finally here. Pardon my classical entry, but sometimes you just need to show off your English degree, you know. But let's get back to the purpose of this video. I'm Chiara, and today I'm going to talk to you about my March reads. Now, March reading wise was not so bad. I wish I could have read more towards the end of the month, but sometimes life gets in the way. So these are the books that I actually read in March. I'm not going to talk through each of them because sometimes you just need a book to distract you from your everyday life, but when you're finished with it you're not left with as many thoughts on it, especially if you read romance books. Sometimes there are books that have no plot whatsoever, but it's just vibes and feelings or not. So yeah, it would be pointless to write a review about it. I mean, I have written a review about almost every one of the book I read in March, so you can find them on my Goodreads if you're interested in them. But yeah, I'm going to focus on some of them. I'm going to divide the book into major categories, at least the ones that I'm going to talk about in this video, because the first category is dark romance / romance, but the main trope is reverse harem. If you don't know what that means, reverse harem is a trope which consists in a woman who has multiple love interests, and she shares them. So sometimes it's in the number can vary. It can be 2, it can be 3, it can be to a total of 10, like 10 men. And huge in both of these books is reverse harem with 10 men. And I guess I should add the taboo aspect. It's the taboo trope, because in 10 men the men are brothers and she's technically their stepsister, even though they don't know each other, they have not grown up together. Her mom and their dad have met, and they have fallen in love, and they want to get married. And then this man and her and the girl met, and there's this sort of arranged marriage situation, because to keep the business in the family, since they have a successful business, they've decided that legally one of the 10 brothers will marry her, but essentially they're all going to share her. And in the other one, huge per 10, the situation is very similar, because the main character, the female main character, is the best friend of the main character of 10 men, and she is more conscious of what she wants. Like, she's actually looking for a reverse harem situation, and so she goes out to look for it, and she finds it. And the 10 men that she finds are, again, brother. She's not related to them in any way. Like in 10 men, they're not related either, but there's the marriage of their parents that technically makes them step siblings. In Huge Per 10, there isn't that, but that's the 10 men are brothers, even though they're all adopted, so technically they're not blood related, but so the situation is this one. And the other series that I've read that has reverse harem as the main trope is the Dirty Broken Savages. Now this one stands in a whole other category in itself, because this is a dark romance, like very, very dark. And not only are the men in a sort of gang, so mafia romance as well, she's also in the business, I'd say, in the sense that they met. The whole reason why they met in the first place is because she has this list of people that she needs to kill, that she wants to kill, to avenge her sister. Of course, things get complicated. Plot thickens. We start with her wanting to avenge her sisters when going through this Listiverse, and then we moving on to other things, other more complicated things that involve also the guys and other people. Now, the that I find interest when it comes to reverse arms books, apart from the obvious, of course, is that we have a female character that is, when it's written well, she has a complex personality and complex character, and so you see her engage with different men who have different personalities, and so you see her relationship, how it changes based on the men she's interacting with, and how the relationship evolves from her going through basically every one of them and developing a relationship with the single man, and then moving on to the relationship of the group as a whole. And it's hard to find well-written reverse arms where it's just not basically smart, and the author takes the time to develop well the relationship and the dynamics between the 10 plus characters, or less, it depends on the book. But when you do, it's really interesting. Now, if you are asking, well, is this books you've read part of the well-written one? I don't know. I guess I'm going to warn you, because dark romance books, the Dirty Broken Savages, since it is a series, I've read 3, and I think the 4th book is going to be released either soon, or is programmed for 4th book. So can write a series. Of course, things get developed on a longer period of time, and technically they're going to be developed well than a 300 pages book. In the series, relationships are developed a little bit slower and a little bit better. They get in depth to see the different character and personalities, how they clash, and so you also have different tropes, because at first not every one of the men is up for sharing the same girl or accepting her presence in their life. So you see enemies to lovers, or you see first proximity, or you see friends to lovers, instant love. There's lots of tropes when it comes to a series. I guess this one is not that bad. So if you're into dark romance, strong female character, because she is strong, she has a strong personality, and she's not that annoying, because when it comes to dark romances, you have these men who are alpha men, or at least they have a strong personality, and then you have this female character that is just meek and docile and kind of irritating most of the times, but she's really not. So I guess this one I do actually recommend. When it comes to the the 10 men and huge burden, that is completely different, because there is actually a rom-com, and even though there are some of the men that are not sold on the plan of being with the same girl in 10 men at least, there's 10 of them. So even if there's one who says, well, I'm not too sure about it, I need to think, I need to be convinced, in the meantime she's going through the other 9, and so you actually don't have that many conflict, and there is a necessary drama, in my opinion, because usually when it comes to romance, there's the they meet, and then you see the relationship getting developed according to the trope of the romance, and then you have the climax, which is going to happen. That something bad is going to happen that eventually breaks them apart. But the thing with everything in this world is that it needs to be done well. When it's done well, you don't actually feel like it is unnecessary, like there's the thing that happens is just there to cause havoc and breaks them apart. And in this book, in 10 Men, it actually happens. You're like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you doing this? It is so unnecessary, but it's just to feel, to make that angst appear a little bit and shake things up. But yeah, it frustrated me a bit, and she is a bit of annoying. She's a bit of an annoying female character, honestly. So if you're looking for kinda insta love, no plot, just vibes slash smart, and reverse harem, then I guess this book is for you. It is easy, it is entertaining, it is, brief, because it is about, I think, 300 pages, and that's it. If you're looking for these things, then okay, then go ahead. It is free on Kindle Unlimited. Also, the Dirty Broken Savages is free on Kindle Unlimited. So, not every good needs to be a 5-star read, But the Huge Per 10, actually, I liked it a bit more than 10 Men, and that is because it needs to work for it. She needs to work for the relationship between the 11 of them to actually develop. Not only that, but I also felt like there were more complex character amongst the men, that had a past, that had a previous trauma that they were dealing to, that made, of course, the relationship, the dynamic, a bit more rocky, because it was not as easy for her as it was in 10 Men. Now, of course, not in there are 10 of them, so as I said before, even if the half of them is not so sure, is dealing with personal things, she is going to focus on the 5 of them that are easier to deal with, you know what I mean? So there is that aspect of instant love and immediate, smart going on. But it was a bit more developed, a bit more complex between the 11 of them, and I actually liked it better. Maybe it was for the characters, honestly. And this one also has the aspect of being set in a ranch, so there's also the cowboy aspect if you're into that stuff. So, second part of this video is going to be about the romances that I've read, and not that the previous ones were romances, but they were a different kind. These ones are less spicy. The first one I need to talk about because I haven't stopped thinking about this book ever since I finished it. It's All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. Now, Mariana Zapata, if you don't know her, if you haven't read anything from her, you should know that she writes only slow burns. Her books are literally the definition of slow burns. Her books are thick. They're thick. I don't remember the exact number of pages of All Roads Lead Here, but it was thick. I guess 500 pages. The pro of reading a slow burn is that you see the relationship between the two characters developing so well, and you see the chemistry between them, and you see the actual reason why they're together. It's not just like the author has decided these two characters needs to be together, and so you see them getting together. No, you see their relationship developing and why they're attracted to each other, And also, she writes the best Grumpy and Sunshine tropes. Almost every one of her books has Grumpy and Sunshine, and when I first read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which as of course Grumpy and Sunshine, I thought that Aiden was the grumpiest character I've ever read about, and then I read Wait for It, which has as well, which also has Grumpy and Sunshine, and I thought, no, Dallas, Aiden, okay, he is very grumpy. Then we have Dallas. Dallas is just, and I thought that you couldn't get past Dallas' level of grumpiness, but then I met Tobias Rhodes, and he's just up here. All of your characters are so complex, they are so unique, so multifaceted, so you not only see the relationship, the romantic relationship developing, but you also see them. They're not the same person as they were when you first read the book, and that's the beauty of our books. And there's so many dynamics going on, because most of the times you see the two characters interacting, but you also see maybe their friends and their families and how they interact together, and it's beautiful. It is just beautiful. I love her books, and the beautiful thing is some of these books are connected. Not that you need to read one before the other, but sometimes characters from another book will appear in some of the books. Like in this one, it doesn't happen, but in Wait for It, since the female character was the best friend of Vanessa, which is the female character in Wall of Winnipeg and Me, she makes an appearance and it's beautiful. It also, in Wafer, it also appears Sal, which is the female male character of Kulti. Why should you read a road lead here? Let me tell you. Now, trope-wise, I already said that this is a slow burn and it has Grumpy and Sunshine, but this also has a single parent because Tobias Rose has a son, a 15-year-old, I think, or a teenager, nonetheless. And there's also quite an age gap, of course, because I think he's under 40 or approaching to 40, and she's 26 or approaching her 30s. But guys, I don't know what to say about this book. It is beautiful. The reason why they meet is because she has been traveling all around the United States because after her divorce, she's trying to find herself again, and she heads back to the city where she grew up. Well, city is not actually the right word for it because it is such a small city, a small town. She heads up there, and she has found a room to rent. It appears not to be actually a room per se, but it's just like a garage attached to a house that is also, it is so big that it also has a room and a bathroom. But when she arrives, she finds out that the owner of the house didn't know that she was renting the garage and is very, very against it. They meet this way. For the most part of the book, there's this dynamic that is typical of Grumpy and Sunshine, where she is all bubbly and personification of Sunshine, so kind, so generous, and always ready to help others. And he is looking at her and not knowing how to approach her, how to deal with her, and so he just blinks or nods or grunts, that kind of things. And I'm just a sucker for it. I'm a sucker for this whole dynamic. And then you see how he gradually opens up with her and cares for her. And Tobias Rhodes' love language is acts of service, so he doesn't speak much. He speaks more than the other Zapata's male character, I have to admit, but at the same time, you're going to get, usually in her books you're not going to get romantic declaration of love, because they express their feelings with other things, with doing things. But with Tobias, you're going to have the scene in which he just openly tells her how he feels about her, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is under the rain, and it's. I don't want to spoil you. I don't want to spoil you. If you want to see snippets of it, I guess I could make a video only focusing on All Roads Lead Here, or you can head to my Instagram page where I've posted reels talking about it, specific scenes, or in the book. But there's also the Who Did This to You, because she has an accident and he sees the bruises on her face, and she's like, who did this to you? And it was, I don't need to comment it. I don't need to comment it. It says anything on its own. But so gradually you see how they fit. They actually are perfect for each other. And she has come home to find herself again after the shitstorm that happened in her life, and she happens to find, well, more than that, but it is also not only focused on romance. The thing that I love about Mariana Zapata's romances is that, yes, of course, that's the romantic aspect and the romantic relationship between these two characters, but it's also very focused on the personal growth of each character. And in this book, I think it's more obvious and clear than the others. Usually when it comes to Mañana Zapatas, I always give 4.5, 4.75, never a full 5 stars. And it's not because, they're not good. Her books usually ends with them getting together, and we get an epilogue that, when it is said, many years in the future and you see them together, how their relationship is farther. But when it comes to slow burns, and I read almost 500 pages waiting for them to get together, then I want to see them together. I want to see how their dynamic is when they're actually together. You know what I mean? But usually that doesn't happen. And of course, if her books were, in dual POVs, then they would be like top notch, the best thing ever. And also, the thing that I said, that I said before, regarding their love declaration, is always very low key. Like, especially with Aiden and Dallas too, you see, that they're falling for her because it is in the little things, and getting to know the character, that this is their way of showing love and emotions. But so it's never apparent, it's never out there, it's never vocal. But Tobias did a great declaration of love under the rain, nonetheless. That's what made me kind of give 5 stars to this book. It was just perfection. I had nothing to complain about whatsoever. It was just, and I'm still thinking about it. Like, I want to reread them. I read it on Kindle Unlimited. It is also free on Kindle Unlimited. And I'm just waiting for the right moment to buy the paperback, because the books you read on Kindle that you end up loving need to be bought in the physical copy as well. I don't make the rules, it's just the way it is. So the other books I'm going to briefly mention is Stuck With You by Elia Azerwood. Now, if you don't know her, she has written The Love Hypothesis, which was the book that kind of made her famous. Now, The Love Hypothesis, 5-star for me as well. But this one is a novella, which for now is only available on Audible or in audiobook. And it's, being a novella, it was very short, so the dynamics between them, was not developed or like a 500 pages book. But it was this one in particular was enemies to lovers, first proximity, and kind of second chance, because they were together, but something happened. They fought, they fell apart, and then they kind of, the electricity goes out in their building, so they're stuck in an elevator for quite some time, and they get to ash out what happened and their secrets and everything they held back from that fight. Now, the thing is that I deeply enjoyed listening to it because Sadie was very funny. It was very funny. They had quite the banter, so she was very quirky, but not in a stereotypical way. So I really enjoyed their dynamic. But the thing is that when it came to the actual reason why they had broken up, I was like, that's it? Like, the whole thing, the whole reason why there's so animosity between you two is because of this little thing? So I perceived it as unnecessary drama, which I hate. I want to see angst. I love for angst, but I want to see a good written one. I want to see something that is actual sense. Like, you don't break up for this little thing. And I guess unnecessary drama is also usually linked with miscommunication, which is another trope that I hate with my whole being. So, if you don't mind this thing, then go ahead. I gave it, even with these tropes that I don't like, I gave 4 stars. 4 stars. So it was really, really good. I have to say, it was really, really good. But this thing with me just made me go, roll my eyes and say, please, please, no, please. And I think there was also another thing that I did not like, was that, I usually between fast love and slow burn all the way, always. And I guess that fast burns is prose. Like, I read some Insta love books and it was, it did the job. I know, I can see the appeal. But if everything, if such a drama happened that made you two broke up, and then this whole animosity, this level of intensity between you two, and it happens after only 2 weeks of you two going together, or I think it was even less. I think it was 1 week, one date or 2 dates, this kind of situation. And I'm like, I am the personification of a question mark, because I you don't go this far out, you don't react so badly if someone you only met 1 week ago does something to you, and instead of going, hey, I've learned this thing that happened, and can you, I wonder if it's true, I wonder what you, if you can explain it to me, you don't know this person. Give them a chance to explain, give them a chance to make amends, and if the explanation or if they give you an excuse, then you go, okay, I don't want anything to do with you, then it's okay. But you don't just go full out, leaving them on red, ghosting them, and hating them because of a thing you've heard without getting their, their version of it. So that made me really frustrated and upset, and that's the reason why it didn't get 5 stars for me. But apart from that, it was a nice, entertaining novella, I have to say. Another book that I'm going to focus on was Not My Type. Not My Type. Now, this one was amazing. It made me laugh. Now, this is a love kind of romance, and I did not mind it at all. My favorite trope again, but I did not mind it. It was just so obvious that these two had chemistry and were actually, worked so well together. Then I was just, yes, I was like, I agree, you need to be together. It's only been, one date, but it's so obvious that, sparks are flying in the room when you're together, that go ahead, be together, But the beautiful thing, the thing that made me go, oh my God, this book is amazing. It is that it has the most erotic scene I've ever read about. And they did not have sex. They had their clothes on and they were doing a kind of kink class, bondage. It's not bondage, they use another word, but I don't remember it. But they did this kink class with, tying up your partner in a healthy way, with communicating with them, getting to know the limits and all this stuff, and especially with regards on accessibility, because this is a point in favor of this book, is that it has amazing disability rep, because she is on a wheelchair after she had an accident, I believe, or it was an illness, but either way, she's on a wheelchair. So and she has a podcast where she talks about, all things accessibility, what it means to actually live a life on a wheelchair, what you can do, or how things need to change in order to make everything accessible to, person affected with disability. And it was beautiful. It was very beautiful because she was actually the strongest between the two of them. It was not just like, using this disability as a, I don't know, as a way to, as an excuse, or, sometimes these things can be handled very badly. This one was really, it's really good. I'm really glad to have read it, and deeply recommend this book to everyone because it's really lighthearted. It is funny. It is also, there's also a bit of sex scenes, but it also open to it also has great disability rep. So why not? It also has a necessary drama, like I said, but not every book can be perfect. But yeah, other than that, it was great. And another honorary mention, I think it needs to go to Don't Kiss the Bride. Now, the thing with Carrie Cole is that she can write the most, taboo romances. This is not actually taboo. This is arranged marriage and age gap, forced proximity, of course, and maybe Grumpy and Sunshine. The thing that I like the most about her books, I read Torn, which was in taboo romance, and the thing that struck me was just the romantic aspect of her love stories. Usually when it comes to taboo romances, the sexual aspect of the relationship is where the focus is on, but in her books it was just these were so in love with each other. They were so romantic, and it was just it gave you butterflies instead of giving other kind of reactions. And with Don't Kiss the Bride as well, it was a bit of different because they get married because so she can get insurance. and get out of a very uncomfortable situation at home. Um, and there's a lot of miscommunication between them because the age gap, because of the age gap and other problems that they have during the work. But honestly, it was chemistry between them. You just see like, wow, these two people are meant to be together. You just see how they perfectly fit with each other, and I guess that's what I like the most. That sometimes in romances you just see these two characters and they get together because of course it's a romance. But when you actually are shown why they should be together, it's just perfect. I think this is a perfect experience when it comes to romances. The last two books I want to talk about are these ones: To Hate Adam Connor and It Ends With Us. Now, I'm going to start with this one because I'm going to be very quick about it. I enjoyed it. It was enemies to lovers, single parent, forced proximity, um, and I guess that's that. The thing that as you can see from my tabs, you can't see my tabs, but there are quite a lot of them. They had a good banter, being enemies to lovers. There's kind of an animosity between them at first, um, and that's the thing. The thing is that it was too soon, too quick, too intense. Like something happens and you go full on hating this person and bantering with them every time you see them, and it goes on for quite a bit. And I understand why she has some personal things she's going through, so she's not too keen into go into a relationship with an open heart and an open mind that soon. But again, I just like, okay, slow down. Why are you treating me this way? But other than that, I could relate to Lucy. There are great scenes in them. Adam has quite some good lines. So, but if you ask me, do you prefer to hate Adam Connor or to love Jason Thorne, which is the other book in the series? Well, it's not actually a series. Olive and Jason appear in this one too, but they're standalone, so you don't need to read To Love Jason Thorne before this one. I have to say that To Love Jason Thorne was just amazing. In my personal preference, it was just, that book was so heartwarming. It made you laugh and made you giggle and it made you blush. It made you blush, and when ink on paper can make you blush, that's just like, you just need to go, "Ah, I can. And that was what happened to me when I was reading To Love Jason Thorne. So I guess maybe this is the reason why this one didn't have the same reaction from me, because the comparison was maybe unfair to Adam Condor, but all the same, it is what it is. Not that I'm saying that was bad, but not my favorite. And the last one I'm going to talk about is It Ends With Us. Now, this book, if you're on Bookstagram, if you're on BookTok, you cannot miss this book. This book was all over my explore page, was all over my Instagram, and everyone was raving about it and how great of a romance it was. And all I heard was Lily and Atlas, Atlas and Lily, and so it gave me an idea about this book. Then when I actually read it, I was actually not disappointed, but I read a completely different book, and so it left me with the question: did we read the same book? Like, why are you advertising this book as romance? And why are you only focusing on Atlas and Lily when their relationship, their love story is actually 5% of this book and not the whole point, not at all the whole point of this book? Like, I do not understand. And I think BookTok is actually made a great disservice in advertising this book as romance, because this book is so much more. The message between this book is so powerful, it's so potent. I don't know why we're focusing on Atlas and Lily. Now, if this was the prequel that is going to come out, I think in the summer, I don't remember, then I understand, because the prequel is going to be about, I'm guessing, on Atlas and Lily 100%. And then so I can understand that they're the only thing you're going to talk about in regards of the book. But this one, no. And it made me mad. It made me really mad, because actually reading this book, it was an interesting experience. While of course Atlas is a great MC, he's a great male character. I love him, and I wish I could find someone who loves me the same way he loves Lily. And the fact that he names his restaurant after the things they always would say when they were together. It's heartwarming, it's romantic and everything, but I guess it was easy to fall in love with Atlas when you had Ryle on the other hand. And the thing is, it was very interesting because, let me tell you, you need to read trigger warning before reading this book. And if you don't want to know anything, then skip this part. But I think you need to know that this book is about domestic violence. It is the major theme of this book. It is the plot, basically. So you need to know, because you could be uncomfortable while reading it, because scenes of domestic violence are described, not in gore details, but they are there, because this is what the book is about. This is Lily and her experience, and women like Lily in their experience in regards to domestic violence. And this is basically the answer to people asking, oh, why didn't she leave him? It's not that easy. It's not that immediate of a reaction to say you should just leave him, but to actually do it are two completely different things. And you see that it's a domestic violence from the women point of view, and this also the perspective, or a daughter of a woman that was a victim of domestic violence, going from being a witness to being, unfortunately, a victim herself. And so how she used to think about what happened in her home to her mother, and what she now thinks of it now that she's the victim, and she understands that before she used to think that her mother was weak because she just put up with the violence, and now that she's in her position, she understands that it actually it's not about weakness. So quick change of scenery because my phone was about to die on me. But what I was saying was that I was really mad that the whole point of the book, the whole Lily's story. This is about Lily. This is Lily's stories. This is not about Atlas. This is not about romantic love. This is about love and how it can get wrong, and I guess when love becomes something that doesn't resemble love at all, something that love shouldn't be, and how in the reality of this situation, it is a very rational and clear and clean story about domestic violence. And it was very eye-opening, it was very eye-opening. And even though I went in expecting a romance story, a love story, and I got a completely different thing, I was not disappointed. I was actually, kind of thrown back, of course, at first, but it was an interesting read. Do I recommend it? I don't know. I guess because these are heavy topics, and not everyone is comfortable with reading it, and I understand that books need to be an escape. So reading about these kind of things may not prove to be as an effective escape as other things. But if you're curious about this book, if you want to form your own opinion, then it's not a bad read. There are worse books out there. But I just want to make it known that this is not a romance. This is not a love story. This is about Lily, and I guess Lily's stories need to be read about. These were my March reads. It was not a bad month, If you want to know about the other books that I've read, you can find the reviews on my Goodreads, which I'm going to leave in my bio. And as for us, I think that's it. I'm going to finally leave you. I think I've talked enough, and I'm going to see you in my next video.